Hey everybody, Michael Snyder, Pacific Northwest Weather Watch. Today's December 22nd, and right now we are looking at the combination of Doppler radars here across the Pacific Northwest. You got Portland here, there's Seattle. We've got winter weather advisories for some snowfall across the Washington Cascades. Some convergence zone activity. We'll keep enhancing that as we go through the afternoon, evening, and overnight hours tonight. Before that wraps up, you can see some more showery weather here approaching the coastline. Can't rule out a thunderstorm here across the Pacific Northwest as well. We'll dive into those details as we go. And then we're going to start to turn that storm train active again out over the Gulf of Alaska. What kind of impacts will that have on us here in the Pacific Northwest? We'll dive into that here as we go through the video here today. Taking a look at the mid-level water vapor loop, you can see the frontal system rolling through the Pacific Northwest here and the cold air cumulus behind it. Going to keep some of that snow going as we go through the afternoon hours. And then the jet stream, it gets active and starts to move out across the North Pacific here. We call it a jet extension. And the Gulf of Alaska trough is going to be kicking up some pretty powerful storms. Now, taking a look at it a little bit closer, there's probably still some dense fog out there for some areas, so heads up for that. Use your low beams. You guys know the drill, and you kind of see the sun rising across the lower 48 as we speak. And check it out. We are going to gain a second of daylight today versus yesterday. Then we continue to add on to those totals here pretty significantly so. By the time we get towards the end of December, I mean, we're adding 49 seconds of sunlight a day, so at least we're on the upward trend there. Taking a look at the Doppler radar and what it should look like today, that frontal system rolling through. Actually had some moderate heavy rain at times here across some of the Puget Sound. Actually woke me up last night, but you can see the showery weather coming in behind this front as we go into the afternoon hours. Some precipitation east of the Cascades as well, Spokane, but you can see that convergence zone signature there as we move through the afternoon. Also maybe targeting portions of Snoqualmie Pass for a while, maybe bouncing around towards Stevens Pass also as we go through the overnight hours and into early tomorrow morning. It should be wrapping up here, and then we have another weak frontal system rolling through as we go on in through Christmas Eve, and you can see it here, but it is decaying front. We've got stronger storms after that. So taking a look at 925 millibars, about 2,500 feet, this is what's going on. You can see the frontal system rolling through. We're going to kick up those westerly winds as we go through the day today down the Strait of Juan de Fuca. And there's the Chehalis Gap, also an area of lower terrain where these winds rush around the Olympic Mountains and meet, create Puget Sound convergence zone. And those can roll off into the foothills and the mountains of the Cascades and locally enhanced snowfall. You can see the westerlies rolling through the Columbia River Gorge there also as we go on in through the day today and on in through tomorrow morning. Those winds will finally be wrapping up. But as we look off into the extent, you can kind of see how we reverse that wind flow here, start to bring it out of the east here for some of the Columbia River Gorge, across the Cascades as well, all the way out towards the coastline in advance of our next frontal system as we go through Christmas Eve there. Now, taking a look at that 10-meter wind gust, just wanted to point this out that there are some gusty winds coming in here. It was gusting probably up towards 30 at my house this morning. Nothing too crazy, but you can see it gets a little bit blustery here on the east slopes of the Cascades as we got the afternoon and evening hours. Some gusts probably up in the mid-40s for the Strait of Juan de Fuca there as well. Now, let's look at the snow 3 hour on the HRRR, the high resolution rapid refresh here, Washington and Oregon. Put it into motion. You can see that snow kind of piling up there, kind of impacting maybe Snoqualmie Pass. We go through the afternoon, bouncing around Stevens Pass as well as we go through the evening hours also before that wraps up as we go into tomorrow morning. Now, taking a look here, this is actually the lightning flash density potential on the high resolution rapid refresh. And you can see you can't rule out a thunderstorm or two with some of this colder air rushing in here, maybe even get a lightning strike in the convergence zone. We'll see how that goes. I'll be watching from work tonight to see if any lightning shows up there. And the SPC does have the thunderstorm potential for western Washington down towards Portland, clips northwest Oregon as well, and would include some portions of British Columbia here. Now, looking at a wider view of things here, there's the Hawaiian Islands to the bottom left. There's Washington State. There's that storm that's been impacting California. Probably been hearing about that on the news. Here goes our frontal system as it rolls through today. Get a bit of a transient ridge. Weak system on Christmas Eve is there. And then we start to get some more powerful storms out over the Gulf of Alaska and the Pacific Ocean. They're going to be taking their shots at the Pacific Northwest. Some of the models showing some pretty heavy precipitation, mainly the coastal areas here. But again, we're still trying to figure things out because models are still fluctuating with just how strong some of these storms are going to be and what their impacts are going to be. So this is looking at the European yesterday afternoon, and there's our frontal system currently We bring that through. You can actually see the convergence zone signature there across some of the Cascades. Then we bring that decaying front on Christmas Eve. Then a stronger storm starts to arrive by Christmas night. As you can see, some pretty good amounts across western BC, down through Washington and Oregon. Strong, deep low out over the Gulf of Alaska. And then additional storms trying to get in here to the Pacific Northwest. Some of them might be decaying as they arrive. So we're kind of watching out to see just how dynamic these storms are going to be by the time they get up into our region here. But some of the models are still showing a pretty rainy period as we go on through the early portion of January. You can kind of check that out. Look at that. Some Arctic air trying to slide down east of the Rockies here. Strong storm down for California into early January. Now taking a look here at this morning's GFS ensemble mean for total precipitation in inches. And we're just going to scroll through here. And you can see we do have additional systems trying to roll through Christmas Eve and Christmas Day. Yesterday's atmospheric river looked a little bit more sinister here, but it still does bring some good precipitation amounts across some of the area. Now we're scrolled out towards December 28th here. And I'm just kind of showing you that we do have this wetter period incoming as we go through the end of December. And as we wrap up the end of the year right about there, you can see another 2.3 inches in the ensemble mean for Seattle. Some bigger amounts across western BC, Vancouver Island, some of the coastal areas, the Cascades. You can see the rain shouting that will be taking place here as we go towards the end of December as well. Now, I want to compare yesterday morning's on the right versus today's on the left, the GFS. So I'm going to scroll ahead here and we'll look at some of those systems going. But you can see on yesterday morning's run, you could see much more of a favorable atmospheric river heavy precipitation into the Pacific Northwest. This one spins out low back across the Gulf of Alaska a bit more, and this is more of a progressive front into the Pacific Northwest. And you can see this one hanging out much longer here in yesterday's run. So we still have some pretty good model disagreement on just how these systems are going to come through the area. And then we've got another strong storm off the coastline there, but it may be decaying by the time it gets to the Pacific Northwest. Now, taking a look at the GFS ensemble, this is the current front that's going through today. And then this is that next system here as we go through the Christmas night into the following day time period here. Still showing up over an inch on last night's ensemble members here. And some bigger amounts still intermixed in there, but also some lesser amounts. And then you can see the potential active pattern continuing here. And we'll worry about that as we get a little bit closer to it. This is looking at the European ensemble. This is total 90th percentile here on the ensemble run. And this is yesterday afternoon's. So if we put it into motion here, this is kind of a worst case scenario, what kind of precipitation we can expect as we go towards the end of the year. So if we scroll all the way out, we're out December 30th here. There's the 31st, and that's about the end of the year. You can see some pretty good amounts showing up across western BC here, depending, again, how these storms come in. So right now we're watching that weak frontal system on Christmas Eve, stronger system on Christmas night for much of the area here, but still some uncertainty involved with that system. This is 6 to 10 day through the end of the year. And, you know, we're kind of right on the borderline here. We've got kind of equal chances here across some of western Washington, Oregon, better chances across some of California. But if you go further east, you know, you're showing up for some below normal chances. And this goes through January 4th. And I would take this with a grain of salt. We definitely have the chance to continue some systems in here through the early portion of January. And I expect this to change most likely if that continues to show in the models. And I wanted to highlight this as well. We got some pretty good wave action incoming here. We're going to be churning some big storms out over the Pacific Ocean here. And, you know, the high tides this year can be pretty intense along the Washington, Oregon coast, Vancouver Island. So I just wanted to point this out, especially as you go into the post-Christmas period. Look at some of this wave action approaching the coastline here as we go into the 26th and 27th. So we got to watch out for that. Some coastal flooding could be had with some of this monster wave activity moving across the ocean. Look at this. Hawaii is going to get some crazy stuff out of the north and northwest here as well. California, big wave action up and down the Oregon, Washington coast. So yeah, active stuff incoming here and correlating with some of the higher tides that we get at this time of year. And we'll continue to watch that as we go into the mid portion of January. That's when our biggest king tides are supposed to occur across much of the Pacific Northwest as well. So we'll keep that in the back of our mind also. Drought monitor, I wouldn't worry about this too much right now. I'm just showing you because it was updated here recently, but we are running a 6-month deficit and a year deficit. So that's why some of these drought conditions are still categorized out here as we speak. But I wouldn't worry about that too much right now. And just kind of showing you the last 6 months, you can see we do have that below average amount across a lot of the Cascades of Washington, Oregon here, although we do have some areas that are above average here as well. But anyway, yeah, that'll take care of itself, I have a feeling, as we go through the winter months upcoming here. But yeah, the active jet stream will get going. We're going to bringing some big storms off the coastline here. The question is just how they're going to affect the Pacific Northwest. We'll just continue to watch that, break it down day by day. And yeah, so anyway, if you guys want to see some snow, go up towards the Snoqualmie or Stevens Pass. Take a look at your Doppler radar before you head up so you can see which pass is getting the most activity as we go through the evening out there if you want to see some snow flying. But watch out, this could be affecting, you get some slippery spots out there on I-90 and Highway 2, maybe even Highway 12 at times. But anyway, yeah, keep continuing to come back and check back daily here, and we'll break down these storms. We'll take a look at the extended forecast as always, and we'll do this again tomorrow, and I will talk to you guys then.